A pleasant day to all of you. I am Rahima Egubat, the second reporter of Chapter 2. Now, let us figure out what are those outcomes used in different levels that is expected from us as a learners to demonstrate. So, according to Biggs and Tang, both an educational theorist, they mention that we have four different levels of outcomes that expected from us as a learners to demonstrate. It is started from the most broad outcomes to the most specific outcomes. So the question is, what are those outcomes? So in education, we have four outcomes: institutional outcomes, programs outcomes, course outcomes, and learning outcomes. These outcomes are both related to the expected results of a student's educational experiences, but they are distinct from each other in terms of scope and specificity. The first one is the institutional outcomes. The institutional outcomes are the most broad among four outcomes because it is reflect about the overall goals, mission, and vision of an educational institution that they wanted to see from the graduates learners to demonstrate after the graduates. For instance, one of the example that the institution desired to achieve or to see from the graduates learners is to see if the graduates learners are satisfied from the learning that they got in that institution, or are the graduates learner prepared from the career readiness and professional development. And lastly, are the institution increased their graduation rates? So that are the example coming from institutional outcomes. They wanted to see that from the graduate learners in order to know if their goals, vision, and objectives that they set was effective. The second one is the program outcomes. The program outcomes is an outcomes that is expected from the graduate learners to achieve from the program that they take. For instance, I myself take Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English because I wanted to learn and enhance my English communication skills and to have a deep understanding about the English language and literatures that I wanted to share to my future learners. So, after I graduate as a major in English, it is expected from me to see my improvement about my communication skills, and thus I develop effective and engaging teaching methods and strategies for delivering English language and literatures, or am I able to create and implement a lesson plans effectively, or I may exhibit a strong communication and collaboration skills working with colleagues, students, parents, and guardians. So that are the expected for me as a major in English to demonstrate after I graduate in this program. While the course outcomes are the outcomes are expected from the learners to demonstrate on the particular subject. These outcomes outline the specific knowledge, skills, and abilities that students should gain from this course. For instance, our subject in this semester is about philosophy, so it is expected from us to demonstrate and apply about the philosophical methods and concept to real-world issues and problems. Also to have a knowledge about those prominent philosophical theorists and thinkers, as well as to demonstrate a critical thinking skills when it comes to analyzing some things. So that are the example of the course outcomes that are expected from us to demonstrate at the end of this semester or this subject. And lastly is the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes are the most specific outcomes among the four outcomes because these outcomes is focuses on the desired outcomes that the teacher wanted from his her students to achieve at the end of lesson. So here is the proper arrangement of the outcomes and different levels, started from the most broad outcomes to the specific outcomes. Now we are done about the outcomes in different levels. Let's proceed to the principles of OB by Shady. So what is OB? OB stands for Outcome Based Education, which is an educational approach that focuses on defining the specific learning outcomes for students and aligning the teaching, learning, assessment activities to those outcomes. Also, the OB approach will emphasize the clearly articulating what students are expected to learn and be able to do, and designing instructional and practices to ensure that the students will achieve those outcomes. So, here are the four principles of OB. The first one is the clarity of focus. The clarity of focus in OB principles means you as a teacher, you have to define the specific learning outcomes or competencies that you are expected to the students to achieve. It is also involves about identifying what should know, understand, and be able to know by the end of learning experiences. While the designing down means after you define the specific learning outcomes that you are expected to the students to achieve, you must proceed to the backward design. Backward design means you as a teacher must plan an activities or assessment that is based on the desired learning outcomes to ensure that they learn from your lesson. So, the third one is the high expectation means that it is normal for the teacher to set a high expectation to his her learners. Also, you believe to them that you have a potential to succeed. However, to achieve that, you as a teacher must exhibit to provide necessary support and resources and teach them well to help them to meet those high expectation. And the last one is the expanded opportunity. In principles of OB, if you set high expectation to your students, then you have to provide a expanded opportunity for all learners. For example, in a science class, expanded expectation could involve not only mastering the basic scientific concept, but also let the student to explore and experience the real life activities just like conducting a original research, applying the scientific knowledge to real world problems, and collaboratively designing and executing experiments. So this opportunity will foster the students to develop their higher order thinking skills and practical skills. So, that are the principles of OB that are expected from us as a future teacher to exhibit to our future learners. Now, let's discuss and explore what is constructive alignment. Constructive alignment by peaks, it is something to do about the connection and the proper alignment. It is emphasized that we as a teacher, we have to be clear the alignment between what students are expected to learn, how their learning will be assessed, and the teaching method used to facilitate their learnings. So we have to align our learning outcomes, teaching methods, and assessment. For instance, as a math teacher who wants students to understand the concept of addition, my learning outcome is that the student should be able to add two-digit numbers with regrouping, while my assessment method can be a test where students have to solve addition problems. And my teaching and learning activities could include using manipulatives such as blocks or visual to help students understand the regrouping process. So, by aligning the learning outcomes, assessment, and teaching activities, me as a teacher can ensure that my students can effectively learning and mastering the concept of addition with regrouping. So that's all my report. Thank you.